Hello and welcome to the Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. I'm Matt Mercer, instructor for the Pathfinder School and the founder of the Black Hat Bushcraft channel right here on YouTube. And this afternoon I'm filming from a new location. This is our Pathfinder Youth Wilderness Camp. I thought I'd share this location with you guys. I enjoy being out here and I thought it'd be a perfect place for me to come and cook up a delicious recipe as always here on today's show. Of course, anytime I cook up a new subscriber submitted recipe, somebody out there is going to be a winner. Now, I know you guys get excited about the announcement of a new winner here on Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen, and you guys know that I love announcing a winner, someone to receive free Pathfinder outdoor cooking gear. If I had to say two parts that are my favorite about this show, is announcing winners to receive free gear, and of course, cooking up and enjoying delicious food in the woods. That's hard to beat. Today's winner for your recipe submission of Mush Mash, this was a self-titled recipe, is Tegan Lewis. Congratulations, Tegan, and thank you for your submission. This is apparently a family recipe that his mother put together as a quick and cost-effective way to feed the family. And so I'm looking forward to putting this one together. Again, it's a simple recipe, has basic ingredients in it, but I think it's going to come together well. I'm going to customize it just a little bit for my own taste. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Let's take a look at the recipe card right now. By the way, do you have a favorite camp recipe that you like to enjoy when you're sitting around camp or out in the woods? If so, make sure to submit your favorite recipe to the email address listed down below, and that'll get your name entered into our data bank of recipes that I pull from each time I come out to film a new episode of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. If your recipe is selected to be featured on our show, you'll receive a care package from Reliance Outfitters with all of the Pathfinder outdoor cooking gear that I use to prep your recipes. So don't forget, go ahead and get that recipe sent over right now, and it'll be a win-win. You'll get a chance to win free gear, and I get a chance to enjoy your favorite recipe right here on our show. The first step today is to get a fire going, and to do that I've gone ahead and collected up some kindling back here in our fire pit. I also collected up some tulip poplar bark, which I'll process down into a tinder bundle. We'll hit that with the HD6 ferro rod, and we'll have a good fire going. Once we have some coals, I'm going to use the Pathfinder 64-ounce bush pot stand to place there in our coals, and we'll cook on that. I'm going to be using the 64-ounce stainless bush pot and also the Pathfinder folding skillet to prep the meal today. So let's get this fire going, and we'll get things rolling. It looks pretty good right there. Got some nice fluffy material, but we also have some coarse material that will burn longer to get the fire established. Looks good. And I'm just going to use my knife with my HD6 ferro rod. One strike. Kind of manipulate that material a little bit. And there we go. All right, so now that we have a good fire going, we're working on building up a coal bed. I know that later on in this recipe, I'm gonna need to mix up these Idahoan potatoes and some gravy mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some water in my stainless steel bush pot, and we'll just hang that over the fire. That way it can be warming. And then once we have a good coal bed, we'll be able to cook on the coals in the skillet. So I'm just gonna add in plenty of water for this recipe. Should be good. And we'll hang that here just over the fire. So at the end of Tegan's recipe, he recommends to fill in any extra ingredients that you would like personally. And I personally think some onion will go really good in this dish, cooked up alongside the hamburger. So when I cook up my hamburger, I'm just gonna have some of these onions sliced up coarsely and just cook that down, almost like hamburger steak and gravy. That's kind of my thoughts behind it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. and probably half an onion will be plenty for me. I'm gonna cut this recipe in half for myself. Again, I don't like wasting food, and it's just me out here eating, so no need to cook the full recipe for myself. So I'm just gonna coarsely chop up this onion. That looks plenty good to me. And what I'll do is go ahead and add that in to the Pathfinder skillet. Just throw that in there. Once we add our hamburger in, that's gonna cook up nice and add a lot of flavor to the dish. One other addition that I wanna make to this is I'm gonna add in some mushrooms. Whenever I think about hamburger and gravy, I tend to think about mushrooms. And this is just a simple pop top can. It's a little small can. And I'm gonna drain off this juice. And I'll probably use about half this can, just enough to add some texture and flavor and color into the dish. That looks good for me. And of course, as always, where it comes to a mushroom, gotta have a little sample. So our fire is almost completely burned down to coals, and it's almost time to start cooking up the hamburger, onions, and mushrooms. What I have here is just a 1-pound roll of hamburger from my local grocery store. Now, when I'm gonna carry something like raw hamburger out into the field, what I do is freeze a roll like this, solid, and then put it into a Ziploc bag or some type of a waterproof container, and then I just carry it in my pack. And depending on weather conditions, that will keep all day long, even for a dinner time meal. It stays frozen until you use it. You can always, when you put it in the pan, thaw it out in the pan and kind of chop it up as you go. If it starts to thaw a little bit, it's still going to be frozen in the center, and that's going to keep the hamburger cool enough in your kit. It will be fine. Now, if you're operating in a super hot environment, 100-degree weather or something, then that can definitely speed the process up. But packing hamburger, again, is pretty simple with this type of container if you just freeze it. It'll keep at least for partial day, if not the full day. So I'm just adding this hamburger right into the skillet. Dispose of this paper later. Clean off my knife good later. And the rest of this we'll save for another meal. I also forgot to bring my spatula with me, so 2-minute spatula and we're good to go. Let's get this on the coals. So I still have a little fire going here, but I've got a nice mound of coals. So I'm gonna just kind of move that fire over, and these will be our coals to cook on. Just kind of mound that stuff up, and I'm going to take the Pathfinder bush pot stand, place it down in these coals, feed a few of them up there into the opening. Make sure that thing's kind of set in the ground nice and level. And now we just have to add the skillet. All right, we got our hamburger, mushrooms, and onions there. And with this, we are officially cooking. Now, sometimes when you take a skillet and place it directly on the coals, it'll start to smother your coals out. That's the nice thing about this stove stand, is it gives a little bit of airflow in there, and it helps extended use of those coals. So I do like using this pot stand for this type of purpose. It takes just a few more minutes to get things heated up, but once it does, again, those coals will last us for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and place the lid on my skillet and just give this a couple of minutes to start heating up. All right, so it's been a couple more minutes. Oh yeah, that stuff is looking real good. It's nice and browned up. The onions are starting to get a little translucent. Those mushrooms, I can tell, have cooked up a good bit. That's looking just right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the lid on the skillet here, and I'm going to drop this bush pot down to the fire and get this water nice and hot, because it's a little bit too high above the fire right now. So we'll get that water up to a boil. We'll mix up our gravy, make our potatoes, and we're going to be eating soon. Let's move this right along. All right, so let's take a look at our water here. Oh yeah, we got a nice rolling boil. That'll be perfect. So with that, we can prep our gravy and our mashed potatoes. All right, so we're ready to mix up our gravy, and this recipe calls for 1 cup for this pack of gravy. This is just McCormick brown gravy mix. So I'm gonna add this stuff in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and eyeball the water for this, try to mix this up here in this bowl. And just add a little bit of the water and then try to mix in the gravy. Ooh, that's hot. That water is really hot. So we try to mash out these lumps. All right, so I got my gravy mixed up nice. And just a tiny bit thin, but not bad. And I think once I add it into that hamburger, we'll get everything thickened up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this over to the fire and add it into my skillet. All right, so I've added my hamburger back onto the coals here, and we're just gonna pour some of this gravy in. Man, that stuff smells really good. And that fire is a little bit on the hot side. Oh yeah, man, that stuff looks good. And always. That tastes really good. I'm gonna let that heat up for a minute. Now we gotta put together the mashed potatoes. So the mashed potatoes we'll use in this recipe are Idahoan 4 cheese. Idahoan makes a lot of different packages like this, so you can choose whichever flavor you like. I thought a little cheese might be nice to go with this. Now, I've got roughly 2 cups of water still hot in this bush pot. And what I'm gonna do is just add my potatoes in slowly and kind of mix them in. And that way, if it's not quite perfect, I can kind of eyeball to get the potatoes to the consistency that I want. Just add those in and kind of stir them around. Oh yeah, they're starting to thicken up nice. I think I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of that pack in there. That should be just about right for me. Oh yeah, these potatoes are coming together perfect. I really eyeballed that 2 cups of water just about perfect, as you can see here. All right, so I've had the meat over here on the coals, just kind of keeping warm, kind of thickening up, and man, that stuff looks just perfect. Those onions are cooked down, translucent. The mushrooms are nice and soft. I cannot wait for this one. This is gonna be a really good meal. So what we're gonna do is plate up some potatoes, and then we're gonna top it with this stuff to create our mush mash. Can't wait. All right, so we got our ingredients all here together. Everything looks ready to me. So what we're gonna do is plate up some of these cheese potatoes. Give us a nice bed of potatoes. I am altering this recipe just a little bit. As Tegan advised, he just added the mashed potatoes down into the skillet, but I'm gonna use mine like this. Just create what my mom used to call a mud hole. So I just make a hole in the center of those mashed potatoes. And now, man, just look at that stuff. My goodness, that stuff is something else right there. I thought it was odd. I look back over the past 16 episodes of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen, and not once have I cooked anything with hamburger in it. That's almost hard to believe. Man, oh man, this is gonna be some kind of good. It's almost like hamburger steak and gravy in a way. That is a camp meal right there, worth eating. And of course, it would not be Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen without the official meal reveal. Oh my, look at that hamburger stewed down with onions and mushrooms and all that rich gravy on a bed of cheese mashed potatoes. I cannot wait for this meal, and I know this is one that almost all of you guys can get behind. I cannot wait. It's gonna be a good one. All right, so now that I have this awesome recipe cooked up, and I'm gonna sit here in a beautiful camp and enjoy a delicious meal, I'm gonna take just a minute to say thanks. All right, so it's time to give it the old taste test, and I'll be honest with you guys, I have no doubts about this one. Let's give it a test. I'm telling you guys, I'm sure that I did not cook it quite like Tegan's mom, but I can tell you it tastes like some of Mama's home cooking. So I know I say something like this almost every video, but I have to tell you guys, without a doubt, this is definitely one of my favorites yet. And it's definitely a do-again recipe. This is really a simple one. Simple ingredients. Once you get past carrying the hamburger with you, you got home cooking for sure. You can't hardly stop eating to talk. Those Idahoan potatoes always cook up nice. I've used them for years in camp. Of course, instant gravy is instant gravy, but in this dish it tastes really good because we've added in that onion and that mushroom to really accelerate the flavor of the gravy. I would recommend that strongly. I know that wasn't in the original recipe that Tegan posted. When he shared his recipe, he mentioned adding in things like corn if you want to. For me, a little bit of onion and mushroom goes a long way, and it really, for my taste, pulled this meal together. I'm definitely a happy camper with a plate full of this stuff, no doubt. So the signature of a good camp recipe, in my opinion, is one that allows you to add extra ingredients in or take ingredients out of to make it custom fit your taste. This Mush Mash recipe is perfect for that. As you can see, I added in the onions and mushrooms, which were not according to the original recipe. Tegan mentioned that you could add in corn, you could add in peas and carrots. You could really do this thing up right to fit your taste. So for that reason, I think it's an awesome recipe. I know that this is one that almost anyone would like, as long as you like hamburger. This is something that the kids would probably really love with the mashed potatoes and the gravy. It's just a lot of flavor there. And this would be awesome in a winter camp to really give you a rib sticking meal to kind of warm you up from the inside out. No doubt this would be a welcome meal in a winter's camp. And for me, this is definitely a do-again recipe and one that I'll look forward to using many more times. So thank you, Tegan. I appreciate this one for sure. It's been a good meal today. I almost feel guilty eating food this good out here in my Pathfinder youth camp without the students here. Poor guys are missing out on this one. Have to make it up to them next time. So I wanted to take just a minute to thank you guys for taking the time to tune in for this episode of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this recipe. I hope that you guys do enjoy this video series, and in my opinion, it's kind of fun to see other people's favorite recipes cooked up out here in the great outdoors. And I know for me it's win-win because I get to enjoy good food in the beautiful great outdoors. If you guys have not subscribed to the Self-Reliance Outfitters YouTube page, don't forget to click subscribe down below so you'll stay notified of all of our future episodes of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen and of course our other instructional videos that come out on a weekly basis. And if you guys would like to see more content from me, you can go and check out my personal channel here on YouTube, which is Black Hat Bushcraft, and I'd be honored if you go over and take a look at my content. I've got over 225 videos of bushcraft, survival, cooking, just enjoying myself in the great outdoors. A lot of good information over there. So if you will, Black Hat Bushcraft, go and check it out. Also, don't forget to submit your favorite recipes to the email address listed down below. And of course, that's how our show continues, and that's how we continue to give out free gear to those people whose recipes make the show. So I appreciate again your time and interest from all of us here at Self-Reliance Outfitters. We thank you for your support, your time, interest, and I look forward to talking to you with another video again very soon. Until that one, take care, and as always, be safe. Well, it's now time for my least favorite part of Pathfinder Outdoor Kitchen, doing the dishes. But I will tell you guys, this was definitely a meal worth doing dishes for, without a doubt.